Hello everyone, welcome to ixam B. Aditi here, economics faculty at ixam B, and today we will discuss the memory-based questions that appeared for in the RBI Grade B DEPR Phase 1 examination objective type. We will discuss each and every question that came in the examination in detail. So let's start. The first question was, what is the basis of international trade in the Heckscher-Ohlin model? So we have covered this particular topic in our content also, that Heckscher-Ohlin theory depends upon the factor proportion. So right option here was the factor in nominals. Next, what is the marginal revenue when elasticity of demand and price is given to you? So this is the formula that is used. This is there in our notes also, that marginal revenue is equal to average revenue times 1 minus 1 by ED, and average revenue is nothing but the price. So you just had to plug in the numbers to get the right answer for marginal revenue. Next question was on effective tariff rate. So effective tariff rate is given by this particular formula, and T is the nominal tariff, and AI is the ratio of cost of imported input to the price of the final commodity, and TI is the tariff rate on the imported input. So a similar kind of question was given in our mock test as well. Hope you got this right. In the question, all the figures were mentioned to you, and you just had to plug in the figures to find out the effective tariff. Next question was on effective tariff again, and it was said that there's no imported input used. So this would be 0. So basically this effective tariff would be equal to the nominal tariff rate. This is coming straightforward from the question. Next question was on Gini coefficient. So we had to tell that what should be the range of the Gini coefficient from the several options that were listed. So Gini coefficient, if you recall, is calculated by the ratio of, let's say this is the area A, area B. So Gini coefficient would be A upon area of A plus B. And here this line is the line of equality. This is the Lorentz curve. So this will give you the Gini coefficient. Gini coefficient would be equal to 0 for perfect equality, and Lorentz curve would basically collapse on the line of equality, and it would be equal to 1 for perfect inequality. So this should be the right answer. Next question was on terms of trade formula. You had to find out the terms of trade. Price of exports upon price of imports times 100 gives you the terms of trade. So this should be the right option. And a similar question was also there in our mock test, where you have to find out the terms of trade from the price of exports and imports in the question. Next question was on correlation coefficient. You were given several aggregate values for 25 pairs of observation, and you were also mentioned that 2 pairs were wrongly recorded, and these were the correct pairs. So basically you just need to make adjustments for these corrected pairs in these aggregates and the wrong pairs, deduct the wrong values and add the correct values in these aggregates, and then plug in the formula of coefficient of correlation, which is given by covariance between x and y upon standard deviation of x times standard deviation of y. Next question was on saddle point of payoff matrix. So saddle point is given by maximum in the row and minimum in the column. So maximum here is 18 and 12, and minimum would be 12 and 6. So this 12 being the common point, this is the saddle point in the payoff matrix. Next question was, you were given the demand and supply functions, and it was said that government imposes specific tax in such a way that it maximizes the total tax revenue. So you have to find out the deadweight loss. Now we all know deadweight loss is given by the area of this triangle. Now for this you need to know what is the tax. Now a lot of students have been asking that if tax, what is the T, is not mentioned in the question, how do we find out the deadweight loss? So there is a catch in this question. It is mentioned that government maximizes the total tax revenue. So what you have to do is that you first have to find the total tax revenue, and then this would be in terms of quantity. So differentiate this function, and you'll get a function in terms, equation in terms of quantity, equate it to 0, which is the first order condition, so that total revenue is maximized. And when you equate that equation to equal to 0, you will get the quantity that maximizes your tax revenue. So this would give you the equilibrium quantity when there is no tax, and this after maximization what you get will be the quantity that maximizes the total tax revenue. Now once you have this quantity, you can find out these 2 points after plugging in the demand and supply functions. When you have these 2 points, you can find out the T, and so you will have then the vertical distance and the horizontal distance. Once you have the vertical and the horizontal distance, you can find out the area of the triangle, which is half times base into height. So this is what you have to do, and it was coming out to be 7500. Next, similar to the previous question, but here in this question you only had to find out the quantity which maximizes the total tax revenue. So we just had to stop at this place, at this point QT, and that would be the answer. So in this for this particular question and demand and supply equations, quantity was coming out to be 20. Next is a question from linear programming problem. You were given an objective function, the primal of the objective function, and from this you had to find the dual of the problem. So for that, what you do is your maximum becomes your minimum, and the inequality signs are also reversed, and the value in the constraint function is plugged in the objective function. So that's how dual of the problem is formed. So several options were given to you, and you have to pick the right dual from the given options. Next question was a conceptual question where it was mentioned that there's a garbage collection problem in the society and people are asked to voluntarily make the payment. So it's a tendency for people to not pay there because it's voluntary and enjoy the free services. So this is a case of free rider problem. Next question was on vaccination dose by some individuals, where benefits of the individuals was also enjoyed by other individuals who were around them. So if let's say these many people have been vaccinated, so people who are around them, they have lower chances of catching the disease. So it's example for positive spillover effect, positive externality. Next question was on calculation of consumption level of the economy. You were given the GDP Y, and taxes as a percentage of GDP you could easily calculate, and savings was given in terms of public saving and private saving. Private saving was some percentage of GDP, and public savings was also given. So first you had to find private saving as the percentage of GDP, and then add it to public saving, and then subtract all these figures from GDP to calculate the consumption, which was coming out to be 8400. Next, you were given assertion and reason on tariff committee, and you had to find out and you have to choose the correct option, whether the assertion is right and reason is the right explanation for the assertion, or both are incorrect or both are correct, or only assertion is correct and reason is wrong. So we are not sure exactly what was there in the assertion and reason, but depending upon what the argument they had stated for the tariff committee, you had to choose the right option. Next question was again assertion and reason, but from Solow Model, where it was mentioned that growth rate of output was not dependent on saving rate in the Solow Model, and the reason was given that the growth rate of per capita income is not dependent on the technological growth rate. So here clearly assertion is correct and the reason is wrong. Next question was on what is the slope of the PPC curve. So we all know that the slope of PPC curve is the marginal rate of transformation, and PPC is concave towards the origin, so MRT is increasing. Now for a straight line PPC, MRT would be constant, and this would be the slope of the production possibility curve. And CW here, basically it was mentioned that cloth is plotted on the x-axis and wheat on the y-axis. So accordingly, MRT would be, the slope of the PPC would be MRT. Now for a normal curve, like what percentage lies within 3 standard deviations was the question. So we know that between one standard deviation 68% of the data lies, between 2 standard deviation 95% approximately, and between 3 standard deviation 99%. The catch here in the question was that they had given values in decimal as well, so you had to be very precise in marking this particular question. So the correct answer is 99.73%. The next question was that mean salary of total employees was given and mean salary for male and female was given, and you have to find the percentage of female employees. So again, you had to use the formula for combined mean to solve this particular question, which is x bar is equal to x bar n1 plus x bar 2 n2 upon n1 plus n2. So this would give you the combined mean. We had this value, we had x bar 1, we had x bar 2. So basically, in order to find the percentage of female employees, let's say n2 represents female, so you have to find out n2 upon n1 plus n2 and multiply this with 100. That would give you the percentage of female employees. Next question, a dice was rolled 3 times. So what is the probability of getting at least 5 at least once in 3 tosses? So in 3 when the dice is rolled 3 times. So again, there's 2 ways in solving this particular question. Either you can sum up all the 3 possibilities that 5 appears once, 5 appears 2 times, or 5 appears 3 times in the 3 tosses. Or what you can do is 1 minus the probability that 5 does not appear. So these are the 2 approaches in which you could solve this particular question, and the answer was 91 upon 216. Next question is that an objective function was given to you and 4 extreme points were mentioned, A, B, C and D, and from these given points you had to find out at which point the function is maximized. So again, just plug in the values of A, B, C and D in the objective function, and whichever point gives the maximum value is the answer in this particular question. Now, next question is that a demand function for 2 commodities was given, and you have to find out the relationship between the 2 commodities, whether these are competitive or complementary to each other. So how you can solve such question is that you can differentiate these demand functions with respect to x1 and x2 and see the signs of the slope that you get, whether it's negative or positive, and depending upon that you can conclude. So it should be competitive to each other. Next question was that for a perfectly competitive firm, it was mentioned that the price was given and total cost was also given, and then it was said that price reduces to 54. So what is the change in profit level? So it's a very easy question. Use the profit maximizing condition, P equals to MC, and then find out profit at the initial price level and then profit at the next price level, and then take the difference of these two. Next question was that in a situation where there is an extreme fall of demand for loans, so what should be done by banks in such a situation? So in that case, your liquidity should rise, and other options were sell government securities, increase the prime rate, or change the portfolio. So appropriate seems to be that the liquidity should rise in that case. Next question was that when oligopolistic firms cooperate and work as cartel. So there are few sellers and now they formed a cooperative cartel, collective cartel. Then what happens to the output level? So obviously this would be acting like monopoly now when they have come together. So the output would be produced would be equal to monopoly but less than the perfect competition output level. Next question is that for a monopolist, demand for 2 commodities was given and cost function was also given, and these were given in terms of x and y. So you have to find out the equilibrium price and quantity and total profit. So use again, since it's a monopolist, use MR equals to MC condition, and then you could easily find the equilibrium price and quantity and the total profit. Next question was that production function of 2 commodities, floppy and disk, was given. Which of the following would be the correct if both use same amount of capital and labor? So if same amount of capital and labor is used, so just use, instead of K, write L here. So you will get that Q1 would be equal to Q2 in that case. Next question was that you have to find the F statistic value from the data given. You were given X values and Y values, and from these you have to find out the F statistic. So F statistic is ESS upon degrees of freedom divided by RSS upon degrees of freedom, or you can also write R square upon 1 minus R square divided by the degrees of freedom. This would also give you the F statistics. So you can use either of the two formula, and it was coming out to be 48. Next question was on class intervals with more than cumulative frequency was given, and it was asked that how many students scored up to 40 marks. So up to 40 marks, so basically a more than cumulative frequency distribution is given to you, and total frequency of the data was 50, and you have to find out the students who scored up to 40 marks. So you have to remove the number of students who scored between 50 to 40. And so basically this concept is also explained in our median chapter, the cumulative frequency distribution and how it is being interpreted. Next question was that you were given utility function for two commodities, and you have to find out the pure exchange, competitive equilibrium and price ratio. So we have covered this particular topic in great detail in our general equilibrium live class, how to find out the equilibrium price ratio, competitive equilibrium and the price ratio. So basically you take one of the price as numerator and then find out the price ratio. That's the thing that you need to do. Next question was that you had to find out the real wage. Nominal wage was given to you and price index was given to you. So a similar question was also discussed in one of our mock tests, where you had to find out the wage in the 1999 so that the worker remains at the same level of consumption. So again the concept of real wage is only used here to compare. Next question was that you had to calculate the final profit from given fixed cost and break-even point. So fixed cost function was given and break-even point or something was given. You had to find out the profit of the firm. So again, a very straightforward, easy application of the equation. Next, it was mentioned that probability A machine fails is 40% and B fails is 50%. So what is the probability that both the machines would work well, so that the plant works well? So working well would be 60% and 50%. So just multiply these two and you will get the required answer. Next question was that if a question is over-identified, then which method is used to estimate? So, and something else was also mentioned in the question maybe. So options were 2SLS, indirect method, MLE method, maximum likelihood estimate. So from the given options you had to choose. Next question was that if investment is not responding to change in interest rate, what happens? So if investment does not respond to change in interest rate, that means this term would become 0 and you have I equals to I bar, and in that case your IS curve will be a vertical line. It does not responsive to the interest rate, and LM curve is the usual upward sloping, and in that scenario monetary policy becomes ineffective, because even if you do either a monetary expansion or contraction, your output level would remain the same. It is incapable of increasing or decreasing the output level. Hence this should be the right answer. Next, there was a question. You were given the regression equation and standard deviation of x upon standard deviation of y was also given, and you need to find r. So this kind of question we also covered in our mock test, where you had to find out r. So the formula that you use here is that regression coefficient is equal to r upon sigma y by sigma x. Using this formula, you can easily find out the r. Next question was from the Heckscher-Ohlin model, where your capital output ratio was given, savings rate was given, and you have to find out the growth rate of output, where population growth rate is also given. So it's a very easy question. You just had to divide 12.5 by 5 and you get your growth rate of output, which is 2.5%. Next question was on PURA model. The features of PURA model were given to you. Some statements were stated and you had to find out which is the correct one. Next, there was a question of matching problem where several terms like pegging operations, dumping, and freight cost and insurance were given, and corresponding to that their definitions were given, and you had to identify whether these were correctly matched or not. Next, there was a definition of spot purchase of currency coupled with simultaneous forward sale of the same currency. Then this type of activity is called what? So options were forward, futures, swap, option. So the right answer would be swap here. Next, again, a probability question. You had to use the concept of combinations to solve such questions. A bag was mentioned that it contained 8 black and 4 white balls, and 10 balls are drawn. So what is the probability that 6 will be black and 4 will be white? So using combination formula, you can find out it would be 14 by 33. Next, a student performed an experiment in which he collected data on x and y for several years, and he obtained this particular equation, and it was asked to find the value of y for 2023. So you just in this question you just simply had to add the 2 years. You had data till 2021, so for 2023 plus 2 would give you the answer. Next, if two countries trade with each other which is mutually beneficial, then their consumption point would be where? That's the question asked. It would be on PPF, inside PPF, outside PPF, and some other option was also there. So obviously it would be outside PPF because they are having mutually beneficial trade. So they would be consuming somewhere outside their production possibility frontier, the maximum that they could produce. Next, there was a question on flexible exchange rate system. If domestic interest rate increases, then which of the following is true? So if that happens, that domestic interest rate is greater than the foreign interest rate in the foreign market, so there will be capital inflow and capital account would improve and current account would worsen because imports will increase and exports would fall. Next, given labor demand and labor supply equations, you have to find the economic rent. So labor demand and labor supply, okay, intersection point would be this, and you have to find out this area that would give you the economic rent. Now, loans of 1000 are made and there's a fractional reserve ratio of 1/3. So how much deposits will grow by? So again, it's a very straightforward question from fractional reserve banking. So 1000 divided by 1/3, this would give you the answer, which is 3000. Next, value of marginal product of labor is greater than the marginal revenue product of labor, which is greater than the price. Then what happens? So this is case of both monopolistic exploitation is also happening and monopolist exploitation is happening here. Next, given a cost function in cubic terms, you have to find the minimum price a firm should charge to produce a positive output. So here again, you had to use the maximizing condition to find the minimum price. Next question was on SAARC countries, where RBI currency swap agreement with SAARC countries was mentioned, and you have to find the incorrect statement from several statements that is given in the question. Next, there was a question in which it was asked that what happens in monopolistic competition in the long run. So you must be aware of what happens in equilibrium in the long run in monopolistic competition. So options were demand curve becomes tangent to average cost, P equals to NC, P is less than AC, and several other things were also given. So you, based on the information, had to pick the right one. Next, from CES production function, the terms mentioned in the equation, you have to match the following type was there. So CES production function has several parameters like rho and alpha, all these things. So the meaning of all these parameters were mentioned, and these parameters were mentioned on the other column, and you have to see whether these are correctly matched or not. Next, there was a question on effect of expansionary fiscal policy on output and unemployment. So, expansionary fiscal policy would increase AD, right? If this is the aggregate supply, this is the aggregate demand, AD would increase. So, as a result, output would increase and price level would also rise. Now, since price level is rising, unemployment should fall. This is coming from the relationship of Phillips curve as well. So the right answer would be output increases but unemployment decreases. Next, given a utility function and initial endowments, you have to find pure exchange equilibrium. So again, this was a general equilibrium question where you were given a utility function and initial endowments of the commodities were given, and you just had to use the equilibrium condition to find the pure exchange equilibrium. So these were some of the questions that appeared in the examination, and some additional topics for which we do not have the exact question was that you had to calculate the cost of capital for a car rental company, and there was some equation using and over identified, whether it's over identified, under identified, or exactly identified is what you had to find out. Then triangular of a recursive system and simultaneous equation model, whether it's over identified or not. And least square trend was also there, and there was a conceptual question on midterm review of the foreign trade policy 1520. Then price elasticity on demand curve and equilibrium price and quantity for supply and demand functions, expansion fiscal policy and its consequences, and statement of monopolistic competitive market and the long run equilibrium. So these were several topics that appeared in the examination. Now, if you are interested in any kind of guidance, we are running a flat 60% off right now in our course. So you can avail this offer by applying this code DEPR 60, where we have live classes, practice tests, 24/7 mentoring, study material PDFs, short and crisp video, and interview guidance as well. So we'll be soon starting with our phase 2 classes, where we have 5 mock tests for descriptive economics, and individual feedback will be given for at least 2 of the mock tests for descriptive economics, and for paper 3 we are providing individual feedback for all the 5 mock tests that we are providing. So myself, I'll be mentoring for the economics part, and we also have a guest faculty, Professor Dr. Sharad Malik, who is also an ex-CGM CB and has worked with RBI previously, and he holds a PhD in economics. We also have best descriptive English guidance from Dr. Sanjeev Sharma. He's expert in English language. He is a guest faculty for communications at IIM Ahmedabad as well. And Ms. Arunima Sinha, who has been mentoring for RBI Grade B and other banking examination for more than a decade now. So if you are interested in any kind of guidance, you can visit our website, or you can in fact call on this particular number, or you can also email us at hello@ixam.com, any kind of guidance that you require for the examination. Please subscribe to the channel and press the bell icon so that you do not miss any further update related to any of the examination. Thank you.